There wasn't one thing that made me an atheist. It's just a compilation of so many behaviors of other people, attitudes, poor attitudes, seeing the world as a whole and all the negative behaviors and how we treat each other just made me think there is no such thing as this great God that everybody professes to believe in, because if he was so great, why do I see all of this pain and suffering and hypocrisy all around me? If there is this God, then I think he's a joke. My name is Brian Jeffrey. I'm a high school science teacher in Atlanta, Georgia. It was Christmas morning, and my girlfriend at the time had called me and said that my two friends had died in a car accident. And as a 14-year-old, you don't really know how to process that. So it was like a part of me was missing. And when I asked the question about why did this happen, I could never get a solid answer. And so that early on I realized people can't give me the answers I want. And the answers I were getting were vague, general, and never gave me a sense of internal relief. I know for a fact that that's where the anger started building inside of me. I felt a lot of people just kind of gave me a runaround, maybe throw some complicated biblical verses at me to confuse me and just to get me say, okay, well that sounds good enough. Looking back on it, I just realized that every time it was brought up, I was excited to try and break down the God that they believed in. Because you ask me a scientific question about it, I can give you a somewhat valid scientific answer. And I think at that point, that's what led me to atheism, because it was a very easy stance to take. As an atheist, you're alone. I mean, you really are, because you've almost isolated yourself, not because people have pushed you away, because you've almost built walls around you, because you think everybody is intrinsically evil. And things are just going through chaos theory, that everything's leading towards a demise and there's nothing you can do to stop it. So why be happy? Why revel in that? So that's really where I was. When I started going to church, and I have no problem saying this, I went kicking and screaming with my wife. And at the time it was because we wanted to create a better life and environment for our daughter. When we found out we were pregnant, we would always just stay up at night talking about what kind of setting do we want to create for her, what kind of environment. And that was a hard conversation for me, because I knew that we had to create something better. And I knew that I was not, at that time, the best role model, because I was an angry person. I always had this belief that God was a changer of lives only for the negative, but I never even thought to think about all the positives that can come from God. And so I found myself wanting and craving to hear more about it. I started feeling different, like maybe there is something there, and I started feeling differently in my heart. And I realized for the first time I admitted all my faults and that I was a broken person. And I wasn't even close to the person I wanted to be. And that's when I admitted to my wife, it's time for me to be baptized, because it's time for me to finally stand up and be the person I want to be, the father, and obviously the husband I want to be. I was baptized on Father's Day. And so the fact that it was on Father's Day was unique, was very unique to me. There's got to be some sort of symbolism there that, finally that I'm accepting my father on Father's Day. And so now I'm not offending my God anymore. I feel differently in terms of making sure that people understand that there is a God and that I was once them. And now I'm a believer and my life is completely different. And just because maybe one Christian ruined it for you doesn't mean that they're all like that. I wish I would have known that earlier. I just encourage people, don't be afraid of your Christianity. Don't be afraid to help people. Be bold in your faith in terms of you stand up for what you believe in, and don't be afraid of offending other people.